Yesterday marked the latest in President Trump's unprecedented series of U.S. tariffs that are designed to reshape the international trading system. The ambition of these measures is enormous. The effects on the global economy will be monumental. We received confirmation that the latest reciprocal tariffs will not be imposed on Canada. At the same time, President Trump confirmed that the tariffs announced last week against our auto industry will come in and indeed have come into effect today. So while it's progress that further tariffs were not imposed on Canada yesterday, the President's actions will reverberate here in Canada and across the world. Three different sets of U.S. tariffs remain in place and will continue to pose significant threats to Canadian workers and Canadian businesses. And while they have been imposed under different premises, some things are consistent. They are all unjustified, unwarranted, and in our judgment, misguided. And we are already seeing the consequences. Just last evening, workers from Unifor Local 444, with whom I met last week, learned that their auto assembly plant in Windsor will be shutting down for at least the next 2 weeks. That's 3,600 workers who are now out of work, not by their choice. Workers who now worry how they're going to put food on the table and pay their bills. Today, I'm announcing that the Government of Canada will be responding by matching the U.S. approach, with 25% tariffs on all vehicles imported from the United States that are not compliant with CUSMA, our North American Free Trade Agreement, and on the non-Canadian content of CUSMA-compliant vehicles from the United States as well. Our tariffs, though, unlike the U.S. tariffs, will not affect auto parts because we know the benefits of our integrated production system. And they will also not affect vehicle content from Mexico, who is respecting the CUSMA agreement. And as well, we are developing a framework for auto producers in Canada to get relief from these counter tariffs as long as they maintain their production and investment in our country.
The trade war between the United States and Canada has reignited, casting a shadow of uncertainty over the global economy. This latest development has sent shockwaves through international markets, causing investors to reassess their strategies and brace for potential disruptions. On April 2, 2025, President Donald Trump announced a new wave of tariffs, a decision that has been met with both support and criticism from various quarters, this time targeting foreign-made cars, a move with significant implications for Canada, a crucial player in the global automotive industry. The Canadian automotive sector, which employs thousands of workers and contributes billions to the economy, now faces an uncertain future. These tariffs, levied at a hefty 25%, come as a blow to the Canadian economy, which relies heavily on trade with the United States. The immediate impact has been a drop in stock prices for major Canadian automotive companies, reflecting investor concerns. This latest round of tariffs is part of a broader pattern of protectionist trade policies championed by the Trump administration. These policies are designed to reduce the trade deficit and bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. Since taking office, President Trump has repeatedly clashed with trading partners, imposing tariffs on goods from China, the European Union, and Mexico, among others. Each of these moves has been justified as necessary to protect American interests. These actions have sparked fears of a global trade war, with potentially devastating consequences for the world economy. Economists warn that prolonged trade conflicts could lead to a slowdown in global growth and increased volatility in financial markets. The decision to impose tariffs on Canadian cars has been met with widespread condemnation from both sides of the border. Protests have erupted in major cities, with demonstrators calling for a reversal of the tariffs. Canadian officials have denounced the move as unjustified and harmful to both countries' economies. They argue that the tariffs will not only hurt Canadian businesses, but also American consumers, who will face higher prices. Business leaders have warned that the tariffs will disrupt supply chains, increase costs for consumers, and jeopardize jobs. The automotive industry, which relies on a complex network of suppliers and manufacturers across borders, is particularly vulnerable. Despite facing intense pressure from the international community and domestic opposition, President Trump has remained steadfast in his commitment to his America First trade agenda. He believes that these measures are essential for the long-term health of the American economy. He argues that the tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs and industries from unfair foreign competition. By imposing these tariffs, the administration aims to level the playing field for American workers and businesses. However, critics contend that these protectionist measures will ultimately harm the American economy by driving up prices and reducing consumer purchasing power. They warn that the long-term effects could include reduced economic growth and strained international relations. In the face of President Trump's aggressive trade actions, Canada has responded with a combination of firmness and pragmatism, carefully balancing its economic interests with the need to stand up to unfair practices. Prime Minister Mark Carney, while condemning the tariffs as unjustified and harmful, has also emphasized the need for a measured and strategic response. He has called for unity and resilience among Canadians, urging them to support the government's efforts to protect the nation's economic well-being. He has vowed to defend Canadian interests and protect Canadian workers and businesses from the negative impacts of the tariffs. This includes working closely with industry leaders to mitigate any potential damage and exploring new opportunities for growth and innovation. Canada's response has been two-pronged, focusing both on immediate countermeasures and long-term strategic adjustments. First, the government has announced retaliatory tariffs on a range of American goods, carefully chosen to exert maximum pressure on key sectors of the U.S. economy. These measures are designed to send a clear message that Canada will not be bullied into submission. These tariffs, also set at 25%, target products such as bourbon whiskey, orange juice, and playing cards, which are significant exports from states that are politically important to President Trump. By aiming to inflict economic pain in states crucial to President Trump's political base, Canada hopes to create internal pressure within the United States to reconsider the tariffs. Second, Canada has sought to strengthen its trade relationships with other countries, reducing its reliance on the United States as its primary trading partner. This diversification is seen as essential for the long-term stability and growth of the Canadian economy. The Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, a free trade agreement between Canada and 11 other Pacific Rim countries, has emerged as a key pillar of this diversification strategy. This agreement opens up new markets and opportunities for Canadian businesses, fostering economic resilience. Canada's measured response to the tariffs reflects the country's deep economic ties with the United States, as well as its commitment to the rules-based international trading order. This approach underscores the importance of maintaining strong, fair, and mutually beneficial trade relationships. While prepared to defend its interests, Canada remains open to dialogue and negotiation, seeking a swift and amicable resolution to the trade dispute. Prime Minister Carney has reiterated that constructive engagement and diplomacy are the best paths forward for both nations. While the macroeconomic implications of the tariffs are significant, it is the human cost that is most concerning. Families are facing uncertainty, and communities are bracing for the worst. The tariffs imposed by President Trump threaten to disrupt the lives of thousands of Canadian workers and businesses, particularly in the automotive sector, which has long been a cornerstone of Canada's industrial landscape. This sector is not just a vital pillar of the Canadian economy, but also a source of pride and identity for many communities. The automotive industry, with its complex supply chains that crisscross the US-Canada border, is particularly vulnerable to disruptions caused by tariffs. These supply chains are intricate, and any disruption can have cascading effects. The tariffs have already resulted in temporary layoffs for 3,600 auto workers in Windsor, Ontario, a city heavily reliant on the automotive industry. Windsor's economy is deeply intertwined with the fortunes of the auto sector. These layoffs represent just the tip of the iceberg, with experts warning of potentially widespread job losses if the trade dispute is not resolved quickly. Beyond the automotive sector, the tariffs are expected to have a ripple effect across the Canadian economy. Small businesses in particular are feeling the pinch. Businesses that rely on American suppliers face higher input costs, eroding their profit margins and potentially forcing them to raise prices for consumers. This could lead to inflationary pressures. The uncertainty created by the trade war has also dampened business investment, further slowing economic growth. Investors are hesitant to commit. The Canadian government has announced a series of measures aimed at mitigating the impact of the tariffs on workers and businesses. These measures include financial assistance for affected industries, job training programs for displaced workers, helping them transition to new roles, and support for businesses seeking to diversify their export markets. Diversification is seen as a key strategy to reduce dependency on the U.S. market. However, the effectiveness of these measures in cushioning the blow of the tariffs remains to be seen. The road ahead is uncertain, and much will depend on the resolution of the trade dispute. In times of crisis, leadership is crucial. Canadian leaders have always stepped up to the challenge, and this time is no different. They are working tirelessly to navigate through these turbulent waters, ensuring the safety and well-being of all Canadians. It's a daunting task, but their resilience and determination shine through every decision they make. Together, they are forging a path forward one step at a time. As the impact of Trump's tariffs begins to ripple through the economy, opposition is mounting. Business leaders, economists, and even some politicians are voicing their concerns. They argue that these tariffs could lead to higher prices for consumers and disrupt global supply chains. The sentiment is clear. The potential fallout from these tariffs is becoming too significant to ignore. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce has also stepped into the fray, raising serious concerns about the tariffs. They warn that the tariffs could hurt Canadian businesses and workers, and they call for a more collaborative approach to trade issues. The Chamber emphasizes the importance of maintaining strong economic ties with the United States, while also protecting Canada's interests. Navigating the uncertain future of US-Canada trade is now a top priority for policymakers on both sides of the border. With the new tariffs in place, there is a pressing need for strategic dialogue and negotiation. Experts suggest that finding a balanced solution will be crucial for the economic stability of both nations. The stakes have never been higher, and the path forward remains unclear. This moment is pivotal for the global trade order. The decisions made in the coming months will shape the future of international commerce. Countries around the world are watching closely as the US and Canada navigate this complex landscape. The outcome will not only affect North America, but could also set precedents for global trade relations in the years to come.